monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, you're saying against Shali. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there. This week on Cold Reality Radio. The Oscars boot Harvey. Once promised paradise, Islamic State fighters end up in mass graves. U.S. Reaper drone shot down over Afghanistan. Trump authorizes Treasury to sanction Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Free passage deal for ISIS in Raqqa. U.S. denies involvement. Video proves its lies. Survey finds Americans' views on free speech is a whole bunch of crazy. Blackwater founder asks for Attorney General probe on Obama unmasking. Hustler magazine founder offers $10 million for info to help impeach Donald Trump. They're all in it together. Weinstein paid for Bill Clinton's legal fees during his sexual abuse scandal. GOP staffer who worked for President Trump's campaign is found dead in his bed after being shot 13 times by his roommate. War with Iran was planned decades ago. FBI hand in hand with Vegas PD began damage control. There is no conspiracy. Nobody is attempting to hide anything. Americans have never been more overweight than they are now. New survey finds 40% of adults are overweight and obese. Obese. That and more on today's edition of Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. It is Sunday, October 15th on the east coast of America, in the land of the deceived, in the land of the brainwashed, the land of the murdered through banker wars, a bullshit medical system, deception by the state-sponsored media, which has always been the case. Fake news has always been here. Just so happens that when Trump gets in there, that it becomes a thing. Not that I'm backing Trump in any way. He is in bed completely with the psychopaths that are taking down not only America, but the rest of the world, basically. You wonder what's going on with this Islamic State thing. What's happening there? What is the plan? Why is why is Islamic State failing? Which means the reason that they were there and the objective is failing. We've got Turkey entering Syria from the north, being warned, stay the fuck out. Erdogan, stay the fuck out. Ministry of Defense in Russia saying, stop fucking bullshitting, U.S. Stop attacking the good guys and enabling the bad. Just stop it. In Catalonia, looking for independence. You can see a continuity of agenda just rolling out across the globe in these areas of the world. Old rivalries, old bitter defeats. People now crying, pleading for independence from Madrid, from Spain. Catalan president has until Monday to clarify the independence bid. I mean, is this real freedom when people need to, plead to or pray? We found out how do you plead used to be how do you pray to these leaders, these man-made gods, these municipalities, these magistrates, these legal demons that run amok in America and all over, basically all over. We have just a system that is global I mean, this is a global effort to be, the answer to it all, to be the answer for people, to tell them what they can and cannot do, of course, for their own safety. So we'll see what happens in Madrid, in Spain, where, again, the Catalan president has until Monday to clarify independence bid. YouTube and New York Times staff bragging about the media bias. Civilian casualties have nearly doubled over the last year in Afghanistan. The never-ending war, the never-ending assault on Afghanistan, and the lies that brought us there. Russia hosting a World Youth Festival seems pretty extensive in Sochi. They're youth from all over the world getting together. Watching video, they seem totally stoked about being there. People from India, people from Africa, or should I say young people? I would imagine probably, I'm not sure exactly what the age group is, but young people from all parts of the world gathering in Russia for this. I want to say it's every 4 years, kind of like an Olympics for the youth. Attracts over 20,000 to the Russian resort of Sochi. And it's something. I mean, take a look at it. Go on RT.com and see all of the representatives there from all over the world gathering in Russia. I mean, America is basically punching itself in the face over and over and over again. We're getting such a black eye. I said before, weeks ago, we are becoming or have already become what Germany was looking like in the 1930s, up until the world just completely friggin' attacked it and demolished it. But maybe that's the thing that's being played here now. I don't know what's happening. I constantly hear positive things about Russia, what they're doing, what they're trying to do in as far as, doing what's right. Basically, it seems like they're doing the exact opposite of what America's doing. Now, of course, they wouldn't report if there was insanity and things like that going on over there, like there is absolutely going on here with this left-right paradigm psychosis that goes on with these uninformed, overpaid, bloated pieces of shit in Congress like Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi, and of course the right has their pigs that are there that are just destroying everything and empowering the demons that are at the core of why globally we're absolutely fucked with all the immigration. It is not a pretty scene. It is not a pretty scene. So let's see here. I need to I need a few minutes to make something happen here. So let me see if I can. Of course, I will struggle to find something to play here for 2 or 3 minutes while I take care of something. So we got, and of course, what does America care about? Tom Brady, increasing wealth, increasing the greed, and it's completely and totally cool. It's completely and totally okay to be always focused on money and profit and just completely emerged in financials and money, which is, the love of money, the root of all evil. You get any number of people out there that just will stab their own mother in the eye for profit and glory and fame and all these other things. Give me a few minutes and I'll get back on here. We're going to cover some of the big stories there. And try to figure out who's crazier, the politicians or the American commoner base that just sits back and with their thumbs up their asses thinking that everything's great, everything's fine. We're America. We can do whatever we want. We're the greatest thing that's ever been.
I admit I might get a tad bit pissed. All the slaughter in the world and you can't do ish. Now my daughter's in the world, there's a brand new twist. I got high power tools in my shed to summarily separate fools from the head. Some think I drop certified jewels every week. Others know I heavily enforce rules that I speak. Rule number 1 is unpopular with those that don't possess the binoculars to see. It has less to do with me than humanity being free collectively. To all act as individuals and not be dependent upon residuals of elites with their minions happily licking at their feet. They must be executed in the street. Some would say payday is going off the deep, but they don't know what's going on. They asleep, shit is deep, and I ain't in the state to explain. If your mind is designed to vindicate the insane, they got lots of white phosphorus. Don't think that shit's not for us. That's simply preposterous. They invented every god you trust. All your leaders are installed by the clan. Over and over you fall for the plan. How much more torture can you stand? Trust me, they want to send you all to Iran. They're getting you ready for an attack, using the same line for the war with Iraq. There's nothing corrupt, settle your nerves, dummy, as rebels emerge. Money with Federal Reserve money.
Please, you know you better wake up. Your masters only wanna take up your space, your space, your space, your space, your space, your space.
I don't play with revolutionary actors participating in an event that's manufactured. I'm disgusted by the laws they enacted. It's magnetic to you, I'm simply not attracted. In fact, it's the polar opposite. I'll do everything in my power to stop the shit from happening. There's been a silent evolution, tricking the people into a violent revolution. After they devaluate your funds, poison all your food and confiscate your guns. 80 million plus of us got tons. Walk slow and you will see the way the world runs. You think your Second Amendment is solely intended to hunt? That is exactly what they want. Meanwhile, it's in place for the reason of murdering public servants engaging in treason. I'm not a fan of tyranny. I'm all about true freedom and prosperity. Exists with rights my creator gave to me. Anything less would be near slavery.
Please, you know you better wake up. Your masters only wanna take up your
All right, little payday there. Little payday Monsanto. All right. Let's see what's going on here. You know, I hear so many good things about coffee, and then I hear so many bad things about coffee. I tend to want to believe what Patrick Jordan says about the coffee and how it affects the DNA and different things like that. I've seen completely how the organic black tea and like Tetley or Red Rose or some of those other teas, those commercial teas that people, drink throughout the years, Tetley, again, Red Rose, a number of the other ones out there, muscle testing. And again, I truly believe that this goes to the whole thing about we are all energy, obviously. We are all molecules and energy and just completely just totally not even these bodies. And with the muscle testing of whether it be CBD or whether it be, I test very, very strongly in a good range of this substance called 5-HTP, serotonin precursor, where it made me stronger in the muscle test. CBD made me stronger in the muscle test. Michael Anthony's system toner, herbalist Michael Anthony's been on the program before, made me stronger, physically stronger. So those things and frequencies coming off these substances that add to the energy in your body and just the aura and energy that your body creates. Benefits, and then of course the chemicals and the toxins and things that your arm just goes completely down when doing a muscle test, when holding whether it's a diet soda or a pharmaceutical drug or some kind of toxin, man-made demonic satanic toxin from these pharmaceutical companies that everybody of course that people work for, and they get everybody involved in it. And hey, it's great. Oh, who do you work for? Oh, work. Oh, well, you must be. That's pretty good. Merck. Oh, Novartis. All of these organizations are creating chemical toxins that are fucking destroying people's health around the world. That has already been, decided by factual experimentation. The antidepressant drugs are killing people. They're making people stab children and kill themselves, driving children in an SUV into the ocean for no other reason than they took a psychotic antidepressant serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And these things are dangerous, dangerous drugs, and they're being handed out left and right to people who are fucking losing their grip on society, to be able to work, to be able to do anything functional, because they're being robbed of nutrients. They're being starved to death because their gut has been turned off, like Patrick Jordan says all the time. These switches, these molecular switches that get turned off and get turned on. They get turned off, they get turned on. Your gut gets turned off by just eating crap, or getting a vaccine or something, which are still being pushed. All of the toxins, everything that we see in society today, people thinking that they still need to get flu shots when it's just a money-making murder scheme. That's all it is. A money-making murder scheme. Yet, I see it every year, up close and personal, with people that think that they need to get something injected in their arm that's going to keep them from getting the flu. These pharmaceutical companies are murdering people. You might not die today, you might not die tomorrow, but your immune system is being destroyed. Every shot, every sting, you're being eradicated. And you just can't convey that to people. You can try to convey it. Sometimes you're successful doing it because they already inherently know that they're under attack and that we're all under attack. When you sit here and watch a football game and get locked into it completely, you're under attack by this entrainment through entertainment. This is nothing more than a Roman gladiatorial sport. Okay, you can sit there. If you understand that and you know that, hey, you can sit there and objectively look at the game and say, win or lose, you know. And I mean, if you're local and there's stuff going on, if you can get I was watching the Philadelphia game, the Eagles, on Thursday night, and there's some people on that, like most of these people are athletes. They don't know what's going on in the world. They have no clue. All they know is that. Well, there's and of course the NFL's come under intense attack lately because of their anti-patriotic stance that they don't stand, they kneel for this flag. And what we've learned about this flag from Clint's, again, his sacrificial research is that it's not what they say that it is. Okay? It's not what they say that it is. It doesn't represent what they say that it represents. It is bullshit. It is bullshit. People that continually believe that we are going to war to spread peace and freedom and democracy all the way, you have lost your fucking minds, or you never had them in the first place. There is no anything of what they told you that there is. There is just money and dead people. That's it. Money and dead people. That's it. The rich people start the wars and get all the money from the wars. And like Henry Kissinger said, and I'm paraphrasing, military men are just dumb monkeys, apes used for foreign policy. That's what they think of you. That's what they're doing to you. And they need you up until a point until it becomes, a robot wars, okay? They need you until they've completely taken over your minds and your lives, and there's nothing left. This is the core of what these people are. They don't care about you. They have sold their soul. They are the adversary, the devil, or they've sold their soul to the devil that's got the most gold. And that's all there is to it. That's who John McCain is. That's who Chuck Schumer is. That's who Nancy Pelosi is. That's who Maxine Walters is. That's who Nancy Graham, what's his name? Lindsey Graham. These people are vile, disgusting maggots that don't deserve anything. They don't deserve anything. They're just the worst form of life. That's who Congress is. those that go along to get along, you're just as bad. You're just as bad as, even if you think that we're doing good, you're walking the devil's dog. They're walking the devil's dog. And they love it because they have everything that they want. While Americans, while the homeless population in Los Angeles, I'm watching a documentary called Tiny Home Rebel, where this Elvis Summer guy, look it up, Tiny Home Rebel. I don't think you'll be able to see the whole documentary. You might be able to see it on RT, but he builds tiny homes for homeless people. And then the city comes by and tears them the fuck down. Let me see if I can find this. Tiny Home Rebel. Here it is, Reason TV. This LA musician built $1,200 tiny houses for the homeless, then the city seized them. I mean, this is from SBS Dateline. Let's see if I can play a little bit of this here to give you an idea. This guy builds these homes for people who live in tents that the city eventually comes by. And I mean, because they live or have to live in those conditions, because the city shelters are overrun, most people have to live on the street. Let's see what we got here.
So these all used to belong to somebody, huh?
Yep, this one here, this is Willie's house. He's an ex-engineer and a mechanic. He's a brilliant man. Just needs a chance. When you have nothing and nowhere to go, having something like this may as well be a castle.
City is back, and they are here wiping these guys out.
It really is a cat and mouse game trying to do this. I don't quit, and I don't give up, and I definitely don't bow down to bullies. My name is Elvis Summers, and I build tiny houses for the homeless.
Elvis Summers. Let's see if we can get another little clip here. Yeah, I think you can probably see it on, there's like 29, almost 30 minutes, the whole thing. Tiny Home Rebel. This guy going out there and bringing some sort of resolution. Well, you can't resolve an issue that systemically is just destroying and throwing people away. I mean, that's basically what's happening. Some 3 million refugees have been settled in the U.S. since Congress passed. I missed it. It kind of cleared from the screen. So look at this. Polls suggest right-wing party could enter Austrian government. So you see how the same thing is happening. What happened here with Trump what's happening in these other countries. It's continuity of agenda. It's the same thing that's happening. You got Macron in Paris, in France, and he's for the rich, and there's people out there that are saying, fuck this guy, fuck this rich Rothschild fucking prick, is what they're saying. The same thing. This is continuity of agenda. It's the same thing that's happening. And then, of course, the same people that put these right-wingers in, are funding the left-winger, the Antifa, and all these other different groups to create a Bolshevik-style revolution worldwide. Let me see if I can get this one here. But I just want to point out what this guy... Hey, I can see the whole thing.
My name is Elvis Summers, and I build tiny houses for the homeless.
A crisis in Hollywood's backyard. 57,000 people homeless and counting.
The city is back, and they are here wiping these guys out.
For me, a tiny house is not a solution.
You're a crap.
It's not safe conditions to live in.
So who's your biggest opponent right now?
The city of Los Angeles.
Always get nervous.
They don't even want to work with them. They don't even want to work.
Nobody should be homeless anywhere, but especially in one of the richest countries in the world.
Yeah, there you go. That's the key. That was one of the things that hit the hardest. Nobody should be homeless, especially in one of the richest countries in the world. It just goes to show how completely and totally full of shit these people are. They're leaving homeless veterans to die, right? Use them to fight, and then discard them. And then you see with the scandal, you see with the Veterans Administration scandal, that people are they're killing themselves because they're so fucking destroyed physically from the vaccines, from the burn pits. Another documentary where the guy said, well, you know what, we got no problem, you know, going in there and risking that we could get captured or even possibly killed by an enemy. But we didn't sign up to be poisoned by our own people. And that's another thing. It's called something denied. I hope you die. Let me see if I can find that. Maybe that's even on here as well. Let's play a little bit more of. United States of America, Los Angeles.
I build everything with screws because I make a lot of mistakes. And it's easy to back out your mistakes.
In Compton, South Central LA, a pint-sized idea has Elvis Summers in a battle with city authorities.
When you have nothing and nowhere to go, you know, having something like this may as well be a castle.
The mayor of Los Angeles has declared the city is in the midst of a homelessness crisis. So Elvis is trying to solve it, one tiny house at a time.
The tiny house idea is very simple. It's shelter. Food, water, and shelter are not optional. They're required for human survival. So it's a temporary solution and like the first stone in a foundation, if you will, to helping people who are homeless.
According to Elvis, these cheap and portable tiny homes are meant to be on the streets of LA.
I do need to fix these.
But right now, they're not moving anywhere because city authorities have banned them.
So these all used to belong to somebody, huh?
Yep.
And now they're not being used.
No, now they've been sitting here for a better part of a year collecting dusts, and people are, you know, struggling and suffering. So yeah, it's really sad. I mean, it's, you know, this is human life here, you know.
You can see that entire documentary Tiny Home Rebel. Look for the SBS Dateline. It's the whole nearly half hour. And then ultimately it kind of focuses on this woman, Raven, who was, grew up in a violent family. And so her struggles kind of continued, and she's homeless. And so it kind of focuses around that because he's got a connection with her. He's trying to help her. And then there's a woman, Christine, who got, another a woman who's homeless, and she could not afford rentals and shit like that. So they come by and they steal her shit, and she's just like crying. Then she shows the film crew where she used to live in this beautiful little blue house. And, nothing belongs to anyone in this world. It just belongs to those who have claimed, and that's the banks, and that these are the United States corporation. They don't give a fuck about people. They will let you fucking die. There will be little things that the city of Los Angeles will do, but they will not work with this guy. They will not work with this Elvis Summers to be able to provide these tiny homes that are only $1,200, which I'm sure he just would build them and just give them away to people. But I mean, and that's the cost, I think, of what he would, charge the city or whatever. I mean, he could work with them to create a more of a sanitary environment. So check that out. I mean, this is what's going on in America. It's been going on for a long time. And of course, as I said, the veterans are being let to die. And that's why I'm going to play this next clip here of Delay, Deny, Hope You Die. And this is the United States military being denied care, delayed, and they ultimately die from
A mysterious illness is affecting veterans who were exposed to open burn pits, which the U.S. military used in Iraq and Afghanistan to torch everything from batteries to body parts.
Your nose would burn, your eyes would water, your throat would burn.
You would have to go and dust yourself off, your hair, your clothing, with all the ashes that were falling on us.
The operation of the burn pits was exposing troops to the worst toxins known to man.
And they knew it.
He was really, really ill, disgustingly ill.
The symptoms are anywhere from respiratory issues, some mild to severe, to rare forms of cancers.
I'm convinced that the burn pits are causing illness among these soldiers.
You never thought
about
the
consequences. This guy's can't even speak. He's got so thin. He's got no neck.
The military
basically
knew all along that this toxic exposure could very well hurt the troops.
They knew about this.
Yep.
And they continued to freaking do it.
God bless America. God bless
There
America.
was a complete denial, I think, at all levels of government.
There seems to be an ongoing struggle between the truth seekers and the government.
Every single time there's a war, we do this song and dance with the government.
What is our future going to be like? What does it hold? It's just going to get worse.
Here it is. Complete denial that these burn pits were causing and have caused extreme illness and disease. Chuck Ocelli had this article came out, or at least I became aware of it, but going through blacklisted news, talking about talking about these burn pits, and Chuck had this gentleman on. It was a book about the burn pits. Let me see if I can find that. Let me. He had the man who, well, let's just say, very, very powerful book on the burn pit. The author was on with Chuck Ocelli. Well, there's a book called The Burn Pits, The Poisoning of American Soldiers. Author Joseph Hickman. I want to say that's probably the guy. that was over there, or may have been over there. I'm not sure about the details, but I know Chuck had him on, and it was like right after the book came out. Chuck had him on, and I'm like, "Hey, you got this guy on," and I'm like, "That's great, dude." Also, you'll be able to hear the replay, not only here on of the program in the archives, but you can also hear the replay over at Ocelli.com. He's got the replay over there. He's kind of building a platform, and I was on with him and another podcast host the other night. I want to say, when the heck was that? Was that Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday? But yeah, it's gonna be over there at Ocelli.com. So you have that. There you go. All right. So yeah, the burn pits. What else do we got? Let's see if we got, because there's many documentaries there. SBS Dateline is an Australian award-winning international documentary series with a current affairs backbone. Let's see. I would imagine most of these are that are over there, but very powerful. As you can see, what's happened. I mean, it's no secret that the U.S. really doesn't give a shit about its troops. Okay, you will hear this push on the Fox News channel about the glorification of war, always glorifying, December 7th, when Pearl Harbor was attacked, and they knew about it, and it was the trigger that got us into the belly of the war on multiple fronts. On multiple fronts, and it's the glorification of war, and then it's always being pushed for a good reason. Well, we were attacked. Okay, boom, right there. They just the brainwashing starts to work. We were attacked. Oh, were we? Yeah, of course we were attacked. Do you know any of the details? What do you need? What do you need to know details about? We were attacked. It's just like they just gloss over anything past that point. It's like they connect and instigate and trigger your primal response, and that's all the fuck they need to do. That's what 9/11 was about. That's what all these different things that are going on are about. And it doesn't even matter the details that World War I and World War II didn't need to happen, and they were manufactured by these families and these banking institutions that wanted to reconstruct, socially engineer, geographically engineer Europe, Asia, and now there's a extreme focus on Eurasia. So it's an ongoing, long-term scheme. It's not, this happened and then that happened and then we did this and then we did that. No, it was this happened because it was planned to happen, and then they try to control the narrative as it goes along back where World War I is concerned, was you didn't really have to control the narrative. You just got reports in movies, right? So they got you into the movies, and then he gave you reports about, well, more so in Korea, more so Vietnam, where they could give you more bullshit. Another war, Vietnam, that did not have to happen. And I didn't see the Ken Burns series. But usually there's people that don't get emotional about something. But whatever it was, whatever the episode was. And I think that, and I said, why are you crying? Because I wanted to know. And she said, they're still doing the same thing. I said, what do you mean? They're doing the same thing now that they did back then during Vietnam. They're doing the same thing now. So you could see the correlation between conflict, manufactured conflict, and we sit back and we just accept it, because to go along to get along is more important. Just like this Harvey Weinstein thing, where all these people sat on this, because what did they say? You don't attack that person. He's very powerful. So it was more important for them to, and whatever perversion that Harvey Weinstein brought to the table, I'm sure that if he looked like a Brad Pitt or a George Clooney or one of these other bloodline maggots, it would have been a different story. But Harvey Weinstein is an ugly man. He's a fucking beast. He is the serpent. And people will, okay, as I said, if it's Clooney or Brad Pitt and it's him saying, there's a 5-movie deal in it if you fill in the blank. The blank being my pants. So it's people are full of fucking shit. Are they victims? No. Volunteers. There are no victims, just volunteers. Or more of a volunteer than a victim, if you will. 80%, 75% volunteer. If you've got the gut. Now, if somebody came out and said that, one person, okay, which ultimately was the case, but there was so much evidence and things that it just kind of steamrolled. But it was just one person doing that, like ultimately over the years we saw with Michael Jackson and some of the things that went on with that. Certain amount of money goes, certain amount of money gets paid, and then situation erased. But, not this time. Not this time. So that's the thing. They talk about the separation of church and state. Okay, everything has its place. Everything has its, just like a finely tuned alcoholic beverage. You have to have a certain amount of this and a certain amount of that to be able to make this beverage. Well, you have to have a certain amount of state, you have to have a certain amount of church, and then you got to have this demonic serpent run by serpents, pointed out by a number of people, Corey Feldman pointed out that he was approached any number of times. Kind of seemed like a kid who has a pretty strong will. So I don't think they were ultimately able to break him, but they broke Corey Haim pretty good, and he eventually, fell apart and committed suicide or whatever. So, these are the things that go on. And yet we glorify Hollywood. We glorify filmmakers that have lied to us about every major thing that's ever supposedly happened in the world. Lied, but they're just so wonderful, aren't they? They're just so wonderful. The directors, the high-priced directors. It's an absolute abomination is what it is. And every now and then you'll get a good movie. Every now and then you'll get something that can help you, seeing it. Maybe they call it like this constellation therapy that people are talking about. Met someone who does this constellation therapy, which is very interesting. And, of course, a number of people that have really look it up, constellation therapy. I'm not going to go into too much of it, but it is a therapy that is performed in a certain way that helps people deal with, issues and crutches and things that have ultimately weighed them down and kept them from moving forward in their lives. And so we talk about people, we talk about Hollywood, we talk about these movies, we talk about this It movie that just came out, the remake of Stephen King's book. If you figure, okay, it's a book, it's one thing, then they make the movie, and then they double down with it. Of course, they had to, I imagine they probably had to get Stephen King's authorization to be able to do it. But it's really just like, what is it? And that's not even the worst of the movies that are out there. That's not even the worst. But like what, to be scared, to be like, what is it? I dropped this shit years ago. And I just sit there and I wonder that there's still people out there, like people, 30s and even 40s that just want to continually watch these movies. They get all stoked up about it. They get all stoked up about it. They get all stoked up about these slasher movies, and I'm sure there's some that they don't. I'm sure that there's some that they don't go to see. Like, what's this one? Happy Birthday, You're Dead, some shit. It's like, whoever it is knows it's your birthday. Screams. So it's just festival of ignorance, swimming, drowning in a sea of ignorance every day. It's a very it's a daunting task, believe me. Believe me, you there. All right, let's see what we got here. U.S. Reaper drone shot down over Afghanistan in a rare successful attack on one of the most advanced U.S. offensive weapons. A U.S. drone has reportedly been shot down over Afghanistan. The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, the Voice of Jihad, reports that the Mujahideen of the Islamic Emirate shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle said to be operated by the United States. Now you have to understand, is like, what is this? Is this a, I mean, they're just reporting what's being reported, okay, over here at Blacklisted News. So you have to, have an understanding, like, what is this? Why are they? Now, it's, of course, it's Zero Hedge that's pointing this out. It's believed to be an MQ Reaper, price tag $10.5 million. So now, are these the bad guys that we've been told about? That the reason why we're going back in there or sending more troops? Not that we're going back in. Let's see here. So yeah, this is Thursday. Apropos on Thursday, reported bombs dropped in Afghanistan surged to a 7-year high in the month of September, and it became clear that Trump's Afghanistan war policy was simply to add to the local death toll by dropping more bombs. So, I mean, how many? I guess you figure, like, how many people can you kill, whether they're good guys or bad guys or civilians, which we know has happened. Obama's done it. Trump's going to continue it. So like, it's just an ongoing 16-year endeavor that it's an occupation. I mean, there's no other explanation than it's just an absolute occupation of this country. And I mean, that's all there is to it. It's not what they said that it is. It wasn't what they said that it was back in 2001. It was the ability to control a narrative. They were there prior to, if not on the day of 9/11, which was reported any number of times. So the Afghanistan war continues. All right, President Donald Trump announced on Friday that he has authorized the U.S. Department of Treasury to sanction Iran's Islamic, of course. Okay, so it has to be labeled as Islamic, right? Because that's who we're at war with, according to, you know, Alex Jones and all of the people. Well, not the people that he apparently he fired. Rob Jacobson. He fired any number of different. Obviously, he probably, I don't want to say he fired Aaron Dykes, but Aaron Dykes left. I believe he married that Miss Melissa Melton woman, and now they've said explicitly, "Oh, we can't say anything about Alex Jones. We can't say anything about what happened can't say anything about what happened at InfoWars." And of course, you know, you got Jones riding the Trump train, and like he's gone against and failed pretty much. I mean, this whole thing about the economy getting better, and you know, we've seen that happen overall. Was it Trump that did it? Was it, you know, what was it? Possibly, pretty much, the system just changing over to a new president and making it look like he's going to be better for the economy. And maybe he has. But reports, employment reports, things like that have kind of shown differently. Now, I don't trust Trump at all. As soon as he started giving Saudi Arabia all this stuff, all this money, all this, you know, just transferring wealth to this regime that is completely and totally awful at human rights. They don't care about people. You toe the line. You do what you're supposed to do over there, and you'll be fine. Especially if you're part of the family, you know, the royal family over there. But ultimately, he's just not. He's just not doing what somebody would do if they were legitimate. It's okay to say that you're going to do this and say that you're going to do that. And now this week, the executive order to attack the financial flow of money to Obamacare. Now, is it going to destroy it? Yeah. Is it going to implode on its own? Yeah. If Trump didn't do anything. But this, again, is just another neurosis where people actually believe that Obamacare is successful, that it's a success, and it's doing exactly what they said that it's going to do. Which we know is from the very beginning that it's totally not doing or was ever supposed to do what it was designed to do. What it was designed to do was make the insurance companies, the banks basically, more money, increasingly more, and then to transfer to raise these premiums to a point so where poor people could get in and be murdered because they couldn't either get health care before, which is kind of a gray area because people were able to go in if they were sick or something like that. And there was a way that people could actually get help. There was a way that people could actually get no, I missed that. It was like, why is I'm getting more sound in my right ear than my left? And it's because the knob was not set right. So now that sounds good. All right. So it was a complete lie from beginning to end, and now I see Rand Paul there shaking hands with Trump on this particular deal. I guess they figured, okay, we're going to try to do this, we're going to try to do that to stop it. And then if that doesn't work, then executive order. So if Rand Paul's up there and they are pushing a strategy that is going to cut the head off the snake, then I think that's probably a positive, powerful thing. At this point, just stop stealing from me. Stop stealing from us, but stop stealing from me. I paid, with the plan that I'm on, I probably paid like $100 a month, whereas, thankfully, my employer pays, a good payment, a good chunk of not just $100 a month, but the deductible, something like $5,000 to be able to, So, but I don't even use it because I don't believe in this medical system. I do not believe in it. I do not believe that it is, might be good for taking tests and things like that. But if you go back and you look at John Rappaport's report or the Barbara Starfield report saying that 250,000 people in America are just going to die every year from drugs that are approved by the FDA and procedures. So you got to really, really watch out what these people fucking do to you, because they always want to stick a needle in you because it raises the amount of money that they get. If this was a loving, caring, real system, people would be able to, they wouldn't be killing us with toxic drugs. They would be working with doctors and trained people to say, listen, we'll pay for your housing. Okay, we'll pay for your housing, and then we'll do this. But ultimately, let's keep people healthy. Let's, give you things in another way, maybe. But no, it's not about keeping people. It's the illusion that they're actually keeping or trying to keep people healthy. Cancer is just out of control. Diabetes, out of control. Heart disease, out of control. People are just unhealthy. And then, of course, because there's McDonald's and there's all these other, and then there's sugary sodas and things like that. So they try to blame it on other things, which you could say, yeah, well, if you're drinking soda all day long and you're eating fried foods all day long and you're not thinking about really, truly what you're putting into your body. And, I kind of think this way too, fuck you. If you don't know that you're eating shit, there's something wrong with you. And then, of course, one of the most devastating things that they do is they create these absolute lies about health and about the body and all these other things. And people connect to it, latch to it. They create their American Medical Association, and they create their manual on mental health, and and then all the different things, all these made up diseases and conditions that people have, so that they can give them more drugs. And these people are just like, sure, if it'll help, blah, 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 if it'll help, And it doesn't help. Just like the statin drugs are not there to help you lessen your risk of heart disease. They're there to poison your body or deplete it of needed resources, nutrients, rob your mind of its cognitive function, and then ultimately, like two women who I spoke to over the years, their husband took statin drugs for 5, 8, 9, 10 years, and they died of a neurological wasting disease, whether it be Parkinson's, whether it be Lou Gehrig's, whatever it is. These drugs were never meant to be put into the body. It's about balancing the body. It's about staying away from toxic food, which is it's pretty hard to do now because of glyphosate and crops and things like that are increasing, and it's very hard to get. Well, it's going to get harder, believe me. At this point, with Amazon purchasing Whole Foods, you're seeing at this point, I don't want to call it a takeover, but I mean, there's got to be something that hopefully there's people in there on the board from the Whole Foods side, but I mean, have they sold it? I mean, I don't know what rights they have, I don't know what rights they have to be able to keep food healthy, to keep food untainted. What does organic mean? It makes you think that you're eating a higher quality food, which could be the case, but still, I think ultimately what we found is that, or what we're finding, what I've been seeing, is that the gut health is everything. Putting bad food, putting toxic food into the gut, into the stomach, into the small intestine, if it destroys its function, the rest of your body is just gonna deteriorate as well. And I think that's why fermented food, which I've been experimenting with over the last, I want to say 9 days, this fermented drink that gets in there and introduces large amounts of gut flora, beneficial bacteria, things like that, and I think even more so, obviously even more so than yogurt and things like that, kefir. They have their benefits too, but of course there's a lot of sugar and stuff involved there. Whereas this drink is, more just the bacteria without a lot of the side stuff. So drinking it in the morning, drinking it at night, sometimes just drinking it once a day. Got a couple gallons of it, and sharing it with someone who has like knee pain, lower back pain, stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, how's the pain factor going this week? And boom, right away, I've noticed the difference in knee pain, back pain, things like that. So the better you are to your gut, where nutrients and toxins, of course, get introduced into your body from the transfer of nutrients from the gut into the blood, can increase the ability for your body to fight inflammation, which is, everybody's saying that now, inflammation is the culprit. Inflammation in the body, systemic inflammation. And I think Patrick also spoke a lot about fermented food, but I don't think he really truly got in depth about it. He's got books that I'm sure, any number of at least a dozen books that speak about fermentation and things like that. Now, ultimately, I think that's kind of the key. If we can improve the gut, there's been a less of an appetite as well, because once you start absorbing more of the good food and the vitamins that you're taking, your body starts to say, well, I've got this, I've got that. It gets the A vitamins, the B vitamins, the C's, and the different minerals. Then your body's like, it's not craving. I mean, you could eat a meal. You can get people that eat large amounts of food, but even good food. But after years of abuse of the body, you're still only absorbing a certain amount of that. So the gut has to be repaired. The gut has to be repaired. And I think where the gluten and the different food allergies and things come into play are when you eat a certain amount of gluten or wheat, you have to get food enzymes to be able to break a lot of this food down so that it doesn't just sit there and block the absorption of needed nutrients into the body. And I think that's the key. And I think over time, I'm going to continue to do and eat fermented foods and things like that, and try to work on the gut health, because honestly, over the last 8 days, and it's significant, but 8 days, what can be done, on the seventh day, God created the heaven and earth, or at least they said that somewhere. But ultimately, we have as we go further, we have a better understanding of what's going on. And I think then we can understand why the food is toxic. We understand why the gut is the point of attack. One thing, United States withdraws from UNESCO. This decision reflects continuing anti-Israel bias at UNESCO. See, this is kind of weird. U.S. debt to UNESCO, what is that, $542 million, 5 times more than any other member. But the U.S. left UNESCO because of its anti-Israel bias. Now, what's going on there? Because we know that in the past the UN has completely turned its back on things that has been clearly violated by the Israeli government. Okay, on any number of occasions. So this is a brave and moral decision, because UNESCO has become a theater of absurd instead of preserving history. It distorts it, and that came from Netanyahu. Of course, Israel's prime minister. Israel follows the U.S. Netanyahu orders country to leave UNESCO. So that is an interesting development, but something really, really smells. And of course, here's let me see if I can get them.
because UNESCO allowed the Palestinian Authority membership. And Congress is very, very easily influenced by the pro-Israel lobby, whereas traditionally the State Department and the U.S. mission at the UN have not been. So this is the first time we've really seen the State Department kind of get in line with the congressional elements that are funded by pro-Israel lobby and easily influenced by it. And I think this really reflects the weakness of the Trump administration.
Max Blumenthal. To say he's the son of Sidney Blumenthal, which has connections to Hillary Clinton. So a lot of people. I mean, I like some of the things that he says, this Blumenthal guy. I saw a very interesting YouTube video of Andrew Breitbart, like reading him like the total riot act back in the. Of course, Andrew Breitbart is no longer alive for whatever reason. Became a very, very powerful conservative voice. And then, of course, he just kind of dropped dead. Maybe that was just from dealing with stupid fucking liberal assholes. That could have totally been the case. I'm going to lower the Yakuza, Good for Nothing. Another documentary on RT. But they are totally pushing this whole 360 outer space thing with commercials that say the Earth is not flat, the Earth is not this, the Earth is not that. So you have to kind of wonder, at the core, are there things that people will totally agree upon as far as superpowers? And I say yes, and that's why I don't really totally trust. That's why I really totally do not trust any one of these countries or any one of these news broadcasts, because at the core, I mean, ultimately, RT is making, and if things were absolutely above board and on the level, you could say, okay, well, Russia's moving in the direction of goodness and America is deteriorating morally. So let's point out in many ways that they're ripping homeless people's little houses down. We're poisoning other Monsanto. There's on America's Lawyer. They're constantly talking about glyphosate and Monsanto's Roundup, and now they have another destructive, poisonous pesticide that's being proliferated that could even be more toxic, exponentially more dangerous than even glyphosate. Another documentary here talking about chasing Che, that this Che Guevara guy. Do we know anything about this guy? Do we know anything? Was he just another useful idiot like Trotsky in the Russian Revolution? We know that Trotsky was funded by Rockefeller and a lot of the banking families here to create unrest and destabilize the Tsar's Russia, ultimately taking hand in killing many of 60 million Catholics and Christians from 1917 to 1950 of some sort. But of course, this youth conference goes back to, or this conference with youth goes back to 1957. So it's been happening since 1957. Then you can say, like, what happened? You know, what happened in Russia? Who were the Bolsheviks? What did they do? Why did they do it? And then you look at the system and you see that if you have a country like Russia trying to do what's right, or any country out there that's trying to do it right, and I believe that Assad in Syria, along with others and other reports that said that he was about allowing everyone to communicate, everybody to live together whether it be whether it be Jews in Syria, whether it be Shiites, whatever the case, a lot of people were living very, very freely, comfortably, and I think ultimately it's just like geostrategically, with these pipelines and things like that, they need to be able to control. They need to be able to control Syria, so they have to take it over in some way, shape, or form. And ultimately, maybe that comes into play. But I don't know. I mean, it's just. I mean, you look at it and you say we totally are already in World War III. It's already happening. World War III is underway. It's been underway for a while now. Any number of reports say that Russia, the Ministry of Defense, the militarized forces that are supporting Assad from this illegal, I guess you could say, attack, and of course these proxies, these ISIL, ISIS, and all these other different groups are being funded by bankers, by the international banking system, because they've got a plan that they're going to do, and they need to be able to fund whoever these jihadis are. And of course, Israel's giving them support. U.S. is giving them support. Turkey training them. But of course, none of that information, not saying none of it gets to people here in America, but if it's not reported on the news, then it's not happening. If it gets reported by somebody that you work with, it's just not credible enough. Doesn't hold water. Sorry to say. And so if in fact this is, but I don't think that they're going to give up. These global banking forces are not going to give up. Eventually, we're going to have a financial, some form of financial collapse in America and globally. Max Kaiser, not seeming very positive anymore about Bitcoin after listening to his program yesterday, talking about how, I mean, you can't look at it and say, all right, well, what's Bitcoin? Okay, a lot of people are making money. A lot of people are excited right now. So there's going to be a small percentage of people with money that can benefit from Bitcoin, and it's out there. So that's going to happen. But ultimately, a lot of these covert transfers of money and funds benefit people committing crimes, people committing cyber crimes like ransomware, encrypting data, encrypting pictures and documents and things like that. And then, of course, the only way that you can get that key, the key to unlock the encrypted data, is to pay in Bitcoin. So that's one, as I said many times, that's one of the aspects of Bitcoin, is these criminal activities and things can go on without being able to be traced. Which can be beneficial when we're getting to a point now where we're getting to a point now where everything's on the line, where everything is Endgame. Sunday, October 15th here on UCY.TV. This is called Reality Radio. I am the Shali Lama. It is 11:36 a.m. on the East Coast of Nightmerica. And I'd like to take a little bit of time to kind of give a shout out to Jules for a lot of her sacrifices. It seems as though she's kind of sacrificed some of her health as well. She's getting better, but over the summer had some pretty serious challenges there. I was obviously legitimately concerned when I heard some of these things, and was very happy to hear that she's moving in the right direction. But it's not easy to run a platform like this with all of the information, all of the shows, me being but one. Now we've got Clint on Red Pill Sunday School from 5 to 7 every Sunday now, doing live shows on his new program, and so many others. So if your day consists of turning on UCY or listening to any one of the incredible shows and programs and information that you get here on UCY, think about making a tiny donation. Think about the effort and the time and the sacrifice that kind of goes into what something like this, what it takes for something like this to run 24/7. And we might not have the ability to do very many things in the near future. Right? Everybody talks about free speech. I mentioned a story. A survey finds Americans' views on free speech is a whole bunch of crazy. The biggest thing on this survey proves that is that Orwellian doublespeak is working. If you are unfamiliar, doublespeak is a term from the novel 1984. It is speech intentionally meant to confuse, to obscure reality. What does free speech mean? What is hate speech? And again, what does Brendan O'Neill say? That there is no hate speech, there is just speech. The people have to take it and transform it into something. And what laws currently or should exist in regards to speaking freely? The answers from Americans prove just how successfully the media and politicians have been in making Americans less grounded than a satellite, if in fact they even exist. I don't know how they function up there in the fucking doofus sphere. Very cold up there, very hot. I don't know how fucking electronics work like that, but it's just magic, I guess, right? The Daily Bell puts that out. Let's see. The powers that be have successfully confused and obscured any hint of rationality and beliefs. There seems to be a little method and all madness. People simply make up their minds emotionally instead of thinking critically. And that is how those in power like it. When people when people behave emotionally, they are more easy. More easy to control. Rational belief would be, would be something along the lines of Evelyn Beatrice Hall's. I don't agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. An irrational belief would be anything that offends you should not be called free speech. Right? Those who believe the latter fail to understand that practically anything can be considered offensive to someone. Under those circumstances, politicians could limit any kind of critical speech, claiming it promotes violence, offends, or is hate speech, holding two contradictory beliefs. The study found an overwhelming majority of Americans believe that it would be hard to ban hate speech because people can't agree what speech is hateful. Yet a majority of Americans and supermajority of African Americans believe that society can prohibit hate speech and still protect free speech. To complicate matters, a quarter of Americans, 38% of African Americans, and 45% of Latinos erroneously believe it is already illegal to make a racist statement in public. All right? So these erroneous beliefs come out of just absolute rhetoric and bullshit, which is exactly what the system wants. And Brendan O'Neill also says, what happens when you stop someone from speaking or tell them what they're saying is, or calling something hate speech, you freeze progress. You freeze the ability for people to be able to communicate and move forward to come to some kind of rational understanding, or some kind of understanding, mutual understanding that can move us further down the line. Somebody might get punched, somebody might get kicked, but the bottom line here is that when you say you can't say that because it's going to offend someone, they're stopping the flow of information. They're stopping the progression of a resolution between the commoners when you let the mind control government, the govern control mente mind, when you let them decide what can and cannot be said, progress gets completely erased, nothing goes forward, and that's what they want. That is what they want. So they pay these people to go out, these Antifa, these different people. I don't know what the Nazi groups or the white supremacist groups that apparently came to Charlottesville on the same bus, or at least that's what was reported. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but I do know that people are being paid to protest. And when you're being paid to protest, it's not really protest. It's a job. And there is just speech. There is no hate speech. There is no bad speech. There is no good speech. It's just speech. But then they have to label it something that's going to, and then the government comes in, oh, we can't have violence, we can't have this, we can't have that. And the media is, all these people should be rounded up, and they should legitimately be re-educated in the nicest possible way. You got these people that make money off of dissent, lying about this, lying about that, lying about Trump's hatred of black people, his racist. Sure, is he white and is he supreme in his own mind? You could say that. But is he going to go and say, kill a group of people? They're saying that what he's saying about Muslims is wrong and it might be wrong. But what is he using it for? He's using it to say, I need to keep us safe. And what do people do? Yeah, he's only doing this to make us safe. So he's being used so that he can use the same, I'm trying to keep America safe. So America, in order to make America great again, you got to make America safe again. And they've done a masterful job over the last 16, 17 years to get people to believe things that are not true about what's going on in the world. And since they control the media, and the media controls the mind of the people because they can't think for themselves, because like Dr. Russell Blaylock said, you have a increasing amount of people that are on drugs that can't think for themselves, and then because they can't think for themselves or do for themselves, they rely on government, the media, to guide them, and that's what the system wants. These universities are weaponizing the mind of these (19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25-year-old people. And it's being done as part of an agenda. So I heard a conversation about between a bunch of coworkers, and I agreed with them both because it's a duplicitous world. There's truth to both sides. But what is not being seen is that the manipulation, the hidden hand that caused this conversation to take place. And we talked about people in the inner city, people that don't have any hope, people that get to a point where they don't understand how to get out. And then when Morgan Freeman, who after this whole Russian thing and working with meathead Rob Reiner, I have to say I lost a little bit of respect for Morgan Freeman to allow himself to be pimped out like a bitch like that. He's already got plenty of money. Nobody's going to turn him down for a role. He probably has enough money to open up his own production company and make his own movies if he so choose to do that. Okay. But for him, he said in a number of most specifically was a 60 Minutes where he's talking to Mike Wallace, and Mike Wallace says, it's on YouTube. Just be like Mike Wallace, or let me see if I can pull it up. We got a few minutes here. Morgan Freeman, Mike Wallace. And what is it? Here's the lesson that he gives him. And I'm pointing this out for a specific reason, because this is what some people think and what other people, again, there's two sides to it, but just let's listen to what Morgan Freeman says.
Black History Month you find ridiculous. Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
Stop talking about it.
I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.
So there you go. But and there's the key. Stop talking about it. Well, then, how can you stop talking about it? Now, those who continue to talk about it, the ones that are really trying to talk about it and bring it about every time, is so that they can stir up hatred for something that not me and not the white guy at the park over there had anything to do with. Okay, the destruction and the destruction and the manipulation of black people was done by the system so that we would have this racial division and instability today. Movies like Mississippi Burning with Hackman, where they go out and then they show the lynching and the murdering of this was done by the KKK. These groups were created by the intelligence agencies to go out and create this type of instability, so that they would have something to talk about. People would have something to fight about, so that we would not focus on what they were doing, the imperialism, the U.S. imperialism over in Vietnam and in Korea and places like that, among other things, using Gloria Steinem in organizations that were created by the CIA so that she could get into the minds of women and say, you don't want to be controlled by a man. You don't want to sit around and be barefoot and pregnant in your house. Okay? Not that maybe, organically some woman grows up and says, you know what, I just want to go out and get a job. I don't want to have children. For whatever reason, organically there's a percentage of society that is going to do that. But what they did was they took that, knowing that was going to be that would be something that women would want to do, possibly, and then they triggered it with their point person, Steinem. They took slavery, which was basically an institution of slavery, which was black and white slave owners, or white and black slave owners. And you got Abraham Lincoln, who was supposed to be this champion of freeing and ending slavery, when he was not that guy. He was not that guy. If I could save the Union without freeing one slave, I would do it. So what's more important, money and power and these institutions, or Harvey Weinstein, if you will, or freeing people from slavery because it's the right thing to do? No, the Union was more important. Just like people's careers are more important than saying, hey, let's get together and end this Harvey guy and what he does to people. No, it's more important to take the money and have the glamour and the fame and all these other things. People are prostitutes. There's a fine line between doing what's right and being a prostitute for the system, or being a prostitute for a system that was designed to create this type of duplicitous options. Do I do what's right and just end slavery, or do I work with the Union? Lincoln was a white separatist who believed that black people should not be in America, that they should have been shipped back to Africa. That's what he believed. And we're lied to. The information is manipulated, and yet he sits there in the Lincoln Memorial like he's some kind of fucking savior of black humanity, and that's not the fucking case. Just more lies, more bullshit, more lies, and more bullshit. And what does Morgan Freeman say? Stop calling me a black man. I'll stop calling you a white man. And let's stop the bullshit. It's not good for anybody. He doesn't want a Black History Month. Mike Wallace doesn't want a Jewish History Month, yet it's pretty much ingrained into society. And then I guess you could say every month is White History Month, or if someone is weaponized, you can say every month is White History Month. So it's all about controlling and conquering, dividing and ruling, dividing and conquering mentally, physically with the drugs, like I started the program off with, and get the commoners to focus on things that will benefit the system, because you don't want to see what the system's doing, or they don't want you to see. Anyway, don't be a fool. I guess that's the moral of the story. Thanks for tuning in today to Cold Reality Radio. We got about a little bit over a minute, but as I said, be mindful of the sacrifices that people have made, that Jules has made here for UCY, for her and her family, and the reasons that she, UCY and her family are pretty much the reason why she gets up in the morning to run this operation and be able to have programs like Cold Reality Radio, and have programs like Rock the Boat with Ron Stevens coming up, and with Hal behind the woodshed, and all of the other incredible programming here on the UCY TV Broadcasting Network. This does not, what they say, freedom isn't free. Freedom is franchise, but it's a, we're moving closer and closer. The holidays are right around the corner. Make a donation to UCY and support what is going on here, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Ron Stevens coming up, Hal coming up this afternoon, Clint coming up at 5 Eastern time, and good day.
Try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list. That's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform shotgun on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary for the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran that's enriched. That's a bitch. Now we gotta teach them lessons.